Did you know that infants are ready to learn sign language? 2-year-olds are ready to learn the basics of science, and 3-year-olds are ready to learn coding? Your child is ready to learn, and at Primrose Schools, teachers make the most of this time by creating a joyful, purposeful learning experience unlike any other.
For instance, have you heard of the Primrose Friends? In every Primrose school classroom, teachers use these 12 lovable puppets to make character development joyful, meaningful, and memorable. From exploring generosity with Benjamin the Bear to practicing honesty with Peanut the Pony, every friend plays a special part in helping children learn important values while having plenty of fun along the way. We could all use some friends like that. You can learn more at primroseschools.com. Now enrolling infants through children age 5. That's primroseschools.com for more information.
Introducing your new Dell PC with the Intel Core Ultra processor. It helps you handle a lot, even when your holiday to-do list gets to be a lot.
Like organizing your holiday shopping and searching for great holiday deals and customer questions and customers requesting custom things. Luckily, you can get a PC with an all-day battery life to help you get it all done. That's the power of a Dell PC with Intel Inside, backed by Dell's price match guarantee. Get yours before the holidays at Dell.com/deals. Terms and conditions apply. See Dell.com for details.
Lemonada.
Hello, we're here for more Happier, a podcast where we get happier. Today we are revisiting one of our Happier podcast book club episodes. This one is a conversation with writer and musician Michelle Zauner, who wrote the fabulous memoir, Crying in H Mart.
Yeah, we spoke to Michelle years ago, back in 2021, and the power of this memoir has still stayed with us, Gretch, over the years. I remember talking to Michelle. I was in Puerto Rico shooting Fantasy Island at the time. So I remember sitting in my hotel room and talking to her, and hearing her talk about her relationship with her parents was just fascinating.
Yeah. The book spent 60 weeks, that is 60 weeks, on the New York Times bestseller list, and it's on its 17th reprinting in Korea.
It's a coming-of-age story of Michelle, the daughter to a Korean mother and Jewish-American father, who returns to her small Oregonian town to care for her mom amid her cancer diagnosis. The book delves deeply into the tumultuous relationship between her strict mother and a free-spirited daughter.
And remember, this is a revisited, so it was recorded in 2021. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Michelle Zauner as much as we did. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
We're so excited to talk to you about Crying in H Mart. Now, most of the people listening will have read it because this is our book club episode. But in case anyone hasn't, can you explain what Crying in H Mart means?
H Mart is a Korean grocery chain, and where I found myself often after my mother passed away from cancer in 2014. And I'm mixed race. I'm half Korean, half Caucasian. My mother was Korean. And I found that cooking Korean dishes and learning how to make Korean food helped me grieve her loss and kind of remember her the way that I wanted to. And so in order to do that, I was going to H Mart often and crying as I bought those ingredients.
Well, I think the cover is so brilliant. I have to say, I had looked at it many times and just appreciated it, just the way it looked, until I saw that it made an H. So I got a particular sense of satisfaction from that once I actually noticed it.
Yes, there's chopsticks holding noodles that form an H for H Mart.
Yes, for H Mart.
Really beautiful.
So, Michelle, we got a lot of questions and observations from listeners about things that they wanted to ask you about. And this came from Samantha. She wrote, I just finished this book and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it or talking about it. I'm half Korean and half white and have never felt seen until this book. It made me cherish my mom so much, but also reflect on the complicated relationship I've had with her. something that has been hard to accept as my own because of feeling never quite Korean enough and never being quite American enough either. I'm sure she's already heard from others how important her words and her story have been to people like me, but I wanted to reiterate it and shout it from the rooftops. Questions I had when reading were, and I have to say this is one easy question and one more kind of transcendent question. One is, what is your favorite Korean dish your mom made for you?
I think that the most memorable dish is her kalbi, which is a Korean barbecue short rib. But every time I came home from college twice a year, she would always prepare kalbi, fresh rice, red leaf lettuce, samjang, and dongchimi, which is this white radish kimchi in brine. It's like kind of like a Korean gazpacho, and you mix in sesame oil, sesame seeds, and red pepper flakes. And that sort of set was always what I came home to when I'd been, eating college cafeteria food for weeks and weeks. And that's always the sort of main dish that I associate with her.
Michelle, you said that you realize now that food is how she expressed her love, like knowing what you wanted and having it ready for you. Did you realize that when you were growing up, or was that not until she was sick that you clued into that?
I think that was something I was slowly beginning to realize. I think a lot of people go through this experience where you sort of begin to return to your parents and understand them in a deeper way in your early 20s. And I think that was what was so heartbreaking about my experience, was that she died just when things were starting to be really great between us. And we were beginning to return to each other as peers in a way. We could confide in each other in this sort of new way. And I think I was in the process of beginning to realize, I'm first generation and my mom is an immigrant parent, and the way that she loves me is very different from the way that I see my peers, my white peers, being loved by their families. And that was something that I came to realize much deeper in the process of writing this book.
Well, Samantha's second question was, what do you think your mother would say if she listened to your music today? Would she be harsh or more accepting because of your success?
I mean, I think she would definitely be more accepting because of my success. I would so love to see her reaction to the response to what's happening, because, things didn't look good for me for a long time. And I think that she was always just kind of trying to protect me from failure and financial reality. And for her to see what has happened, I think would be really astounding for her. But I think that, she is also the most brutally honest person. And I think she would say the same kind of thing that she used to say about my music, which was such a mom response. She would always say, "What are you saying? I can't understand what you're saying."
Yeah. Well, when you touch on this issue of imagining what your mother's response would be, right near the end of the book, and it's a very beautiful passage. So would you read it? It's at the bottom of 232 to 233 about a show that you did.
When we got on stage, I took a moment to take in the room. Even at the height of my ambitions, I had never imagined I'd be able to play a concert in my mother's native country, in the city where I was born. I wish that my mother could see me, could be proud of the woman I'd become and the career I'd built. The realization of something she worried for so long would never happen. Conscious that the success we experienced revolved around her death, that the songs I sang memorialized her, I wish more than anything, and through all contradiction, that she could be there. I took a breath. "안녕하세요," I shouted into the mic, and we launched into our set. I hadn't believed in a God since I was about 10, and still envisioned Mr. Rogers when I prayed, but the years that followed my mother's passing were suspiciously charmed. I had been playing in bands since I was 16, dreamt of succeeding as an artist practically my whole life, and as an American I felt entitled to it in spite of my mother's aggrieved forewarnings. I had fought for that dream thanklessly for 8 long years, and only after she died did things, as if magically, begin to happen. If there was a God, it seemed my mother must have had her foot on his neck, demanding good things come my way. that if we had to be ripped apart right at our turning point, just when things were really starting to get good, the least God could do was make a few of her daughter's pipe dreams come true.
It's such a beautiful passage. And it must, you write many times about how hard it was that she missed out on this stage. But it's wonderful to think that somehow she played a role in it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard not to feel that way.
Well, and I loved him, Michelle, in the book, you quote your mom saying, "You know what I realized? I've just never met someone like you." And it almost seemed like once she realized, oh, you're just different from anyone I know, you were able to sort of communicate better.
Yeah, I think so. I think that so much of this book is about not understanding that things that I identified as being idiosyncratically cruel parts of my mom's personality were actually so rooted in a difference in culture and a generational difference. And yeah, I mean, I think that was a big part of it as we got to the point where we finally were able to accept that we were just very different from one another, but ultimately loved each other very deeply.
Well, there was that one section where you thought it was sort of your mother saying, wait, save your tears until your mother dies. She was sort of a refrain she had, but you didn't realize that this was something that others said, that she had heard this herself. Right? You thought this was just her sentiment, but it turns out it was sort of more of a saying, or at least a family saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because I've learned a lot from my aunt, my last remaining aunt, who's her older sister, that, you know, she was really surprised with the way that she raised me because we were so similar. I had heard from a young age that my mom was kind of a rebel and a real tomboy. And I think that you just, you know, that's just part of life. The circle of life is that you learn how to love someone the way that you were loved by your parents, I think. And that was how her mother loved her. And the same thing that she said to her growing up that I'm sure she hated. And in turn, I'm sure that's something that I will say to my kid eventually, you know, because I've gone through this experience. And, you know, a lot of what my mom said was right, you know.
Well, and you write in the book that she used to say to you, save 10% of yourself. And she would say, even from daddy, I save. And I thought that was so interesting. And the fact that later you realized she saved 10%, different 10% from different people, from you, from your father, from her siblings.
Yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent that we all keep things from other people and different people know different parts of ourselves, but it was certainly really great advice to get from a young age because it, you know, really prepared me for life, to protect yourself and not trust anyone completely and always have something to sort of fall back on.
Well, it's interesting because I was just rereading Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and she wrote this passage in from the perspective of Clarissa Dalloway, and it so reminded me of what you'd written in your memoir. She writes, "And there is a dignity in people, a solitude, even between husband and wife, a gulf, and that one must respect," thought Clarissa, watching him open the door, "for one would not part with it oneself, or take it against his will from one's husband, without losing one's independence, one's self-respect, something, after all, priceless." So it's this idea that we need to hold something back to have that independence.
Absolutely. I think that my mom always really promoted independence in a way. I mean, even when I was growing up, like she had such an interest in self-care and the way that she presented herself to the world, but it was never rooted in, it was always for herself. She always taught me from a very early age that beauty and self-care should be things that you do for yourself and not for anyone else.
Interesting.
Coming up, we'll have more of our book club conversation with Michelle Zauner.
When you're giving a gift, you want it to be something that a person really appreciates for the whole rest of the year, not just something that they enjoy when they open. And that's why I love to give Aura frames, the digital frames that people love all year long. They will look at their Aura frame every single day. And that's why if there is somebody that I know where I really want to give them that extra special gift, I give them Aura frames. It's super easy to use. You have unlimited free photos and videos, and it's something that people will look at every single day.
For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code HAPPIER at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code HAPPIER. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Gretch, Adam is entering his grilling years. He is getting good on the grill, and I love that that means I can gift him Omaha steaks for the holidays. The meat comes right to our door. I put it in the freezer. He can use it when he wants, and it is so good. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. I know I'm going to get to enjoy this gift as much as he does. They also carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, and delectable desserts.
Save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code HAPPIER at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code HAPPIER.
Are you a trailblazer, a risk taker, someone with countless tales of epic adventure? Well, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm working on it. Even the boldest among us started small, daring themselves to reach greater goals each day. If you're looking to take on a challenge like that, the Defender is too. It's a vehicle built for those capable of great things, whether you're charting new territory or just escaping the city for the weekend.
The Defender, engineered to meet challenges head-on so you can explore with confidence. An icon reimagined, designed for a new generation of explorers. Choose from the Defender 90, 110, or 130, seating up to 8 adventurers. With a tough-tested exterior, a modern and functional interior, and intelligent tech like 3D surround cameras and the Pivi Pro infotainment system, every journey feels limitless. Because like you, the Defender is capable of great things. Build your Defender today at LandRoverUSA.com. As a business owner myself, I know that owning a business means long days and lots of hard work. You need to be able to adapt to new challenges as they pop up, and you certainly need the right technology to help you do that. Spectrum Business keeps businesses of all sizes connected seamlessly with internet, advanced Wi-Fi, phone, TV, and mobile services. Spectrum Business has tailored connectivity solutions and packages built for your business's budget. No contracts, no added fees. And right now, business owners can get free business internet advantage forever when you add 4 or more mobile lines. Visit spectrum.com/free for life to learn how you can get business internet free forever. Restrictions apply. Services not available in all areas.
We're back with more of our conversation with Michelle Zauner about crying in H Mart. Do you think you know her better now, Michelle, that you've written the book than you did when she was alive?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I really think that I was able to get a better understanding of all the major players in this book, of myself, of my mother, my father, this woman, Kay, who came to live with us. I think that that's a really beautiful thing that writing a memoir can do, is that you have to be fair as much as possible to everyone. And if you're going to throw anyone under the bus, you have to make sure to do it to yourself just as much as you do to anyone else. And in order to get full perspective and multidimensional characters, you have to explore all parts of a person's backstory and what makes them make the decisions and actions that they make. And I think that that's a really wonderful thing about writing this book, was I was able to understand where people were coming from in such a deeper way and forgive myself and other people for things that I had been upset about for a really long time.
Our listener, Megan, asked a question. She wrote, "I'm so curious about what her father thought of the memoir, as I've read a few interviews that they've since lost touch." And I think there she's referring to an essay that you wrote in Harper's Bazaar, and I'll post a link to that. And before you answer, I'll just say, in the memoir, you kind of make a prediction, or you're already thinking about this in the memoir itself. You write, There was a dangerous and unspoken prospect looming that without my mother to bond us, my father and I would drift apart. I was not essential to him in the way I knew I was to my mother, and I could see that in the aftermath, there would be a struggle to coexist, that there was a good chance we would come unmoored, that our family would dissolve entirely.
Yeah, I mean, my father is a really interesting character. He's lived a really difficult life and he was always a provider for our family. I wasn't as close to him growing up as I was to my mother, who was a homemaker and had all of this time to spend with me. Yeah, I mean, he took my mother's death and her illness very hard. And I think that that's pretty common when you're going through the caretaking process, is that one person feels this need to really take a lot of the responsibility and the other person is a bit more able to fall apart or just can't quite handle it. And I think that here was a man whose life was falling apart for, the second or third time in his life, and he had no idea how to cope with it. And yeah, I was really angry at him for that as a father, and that he wasn't able to give me the support that I felt like I offered him during that time. But in writing this book, it made me really understand his perspective a bit more. We haven't spoken really or seen each other in the last couple of years, and part of that is because he lives abroad and the pandemic has made it even more difficult to try to find some common ground. But I'm not sure if it will be a forever thing. I actually didn't find out that he had read the book. I had sent it to him, but he had never messaged me about reading it until the New York Times article came out. And I found out that he had read it there. And I recently did ask him what he thought of the book. And his major issue was that I had grown up thinking that he sold used cars, but he was very upset and wanted me to know that he sold new cars in Germany. And I was like, of all the things that you could have maybe been taken issue with and that I have revealed in the book, that was what really bothered him. That was the only thing that he brought up. So yeah, my father sold new cars in Germany. He wants to be made clear. But he's a real open book, and he'd be the first to tell you all of the things that I included in the book. He knows that he kind of fell off during her illness, and he accepts that. And the sort of darker parts of the book are things that he knows already, and I think he didn't really take issue. It was more of this kind of like, that was a really crucial part of his life, was like he really turned around. He's an ex-felon, he's an abused child, and that was where he found his footing. That's where he turned his life around. And so I think that to have that not being feel like that wasn't taken seriously, I think was really upsetting for him.
The cars.
But it seemed to me that you did take it seriously. It felt like it was like very fair to him, or within the memoir, you really were providing his perspective and like where he was coming from with all this. I mean, if it has to do with you, maybe it doesn't feel fair, but it felt, as a reader, it felt like you, as the writer, were trying to paint a portrait of him that was respectful of everything that he'd gone through and kind of his perspective on what everyone was struggling with. So it didn't feel like it was like vengeful or kind of taking advantage of the fact that you're the one who's writing the record, which sometimes in memoirs, you definitely get the sense that you're hearing one person's point of view. This felt like a very serious attempt to grapple with the complexity of the situation from all the different actors.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me because it was something that was really important to me and happened very much in the revision process. I think that when I turned in my first draft, it definitely read that way, where it was very, slanted in my favor, of course, because it's my perspective, it's my memoir, but it's certainly uninteresting and not really a mature or fair thing to be biased in that way, or not present, if you're going to throw someone under the bus, you have to throw yourself under the bus too. So it's very difficult to find things that are not flattering that you do as a protagonist.
Yeah. Coming up, we will continue our revisited conversation with Michelle Zauner about her terrific memoir. But first, this break. Elizabeth, when we're together for the holidays, we end up going to Whole Foods Market every day. There's so many things that we need. Like we're going to a party and one of us needs to bring a gift for the host. They have these expert curated cheeses and crackers that everybody loves. They have excellent limited time seasonal desserts like holiday rum cake, creamy bûche de Noël, which is one of our family's favorites, and more. Plus, they have these show-stopping things for the table like bone-in spiral cut ham.
Well, Gretch, I love that they have heat and eat sides from the prepared foods department because you know that I am not much of a cook. So heat and serve is something I can do. And they have floral, Gretchen. So you can bring a nice bouquet of flowers if you're going to someone's house. Shop for everything you need at Whole Foods Market, your holiday headquarters. The holidays are such a joyful time, but let's be honest, they can also be a lot. There's so much to cook, so much to clean, and unfortunately, so much food waste.
You know, we're always thinking about the small things we can do that make an impact, not just for our own happiness, but for the planet too. And that's why I'm such a big fan of my Mill food recycler. Mill is odorless and fully automated, eliminating all the pain points associated with old-fashioned compost pails and smelly garbage cans. It makes keeping food out of the trash as easy as dropping it in. It can be hectic in my home around the holidays, but Mill keeps me keeping my cool when I'm hosting. With all the food prep and guests arriving, I never have to stress about the trash. Plus, it looks super cool and modern in my kitchen.
Add Mill to your wish list or gift one now. Get up to $200 off during their biggest sale of the season, Thursday, November 20th through Monday, December 1st. Miss the sale? You can still get $75 off with code HAPPY. Visit mill.com/happy. That's mill.com/HAPPY.
You're ready for the holidays. The turkey's been going since this morning. The sides are perfectly seasoned. The out-of-towners have a bed, couch, or futon to crash on for the night. All that's left to take care of is your peace of mind. That's why ADT is here.
With their professionally installed home security systems, you get protection that helps you feel safe. When every second counts, count on ADT. Visit ADT.com or call 1-800-ADT-ASAP. When every second counts, count on ADT. This podcast is sponsored by Squarespace. You cannot even think of starting a business these days without having a website, and Squarespace makes it so easy. I've noticed, Gretch, people don't even say, do you have a website? They say, have you started your Squarespace? It's so great because you have everything you need for your business right there. You can sell things, you can post things, you can collect information. It's just so easy, and it's easy to set up, which is key to the whole enterprise.
Yes, they have cutting-edge design tools like their Blueprint AI builder that just asks a few questions about what vibe you want and what you want to do, and it'll generate a whole custom layout that actually looks like whatever you want. You hardly have to tweak anything. Plus, with Squarespace, their email campaigns are built right in. So once people join your list, you can send newsletter or updates without leaving the platform. Head to squarespace.com/happy for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code HAPPY to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And now we're back with our conversation with Michelle Zauner about crying in H Mart.
One of the things I love about the book, Michelle, is how it's really kind of in medias res. It's like this story is still unfolding. It is still raw for you. You know, if you write another memoir in 10 years, it could, again, evolve and change. And I found that immediacy of it just so compelling.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, a lot, especially the later chapters, a lot of it was still kind of happening in real time. You know, I was going to Korea and writing a lot of this book, and the last chapter was a later edition that a lot of those sort of moments kind of happens in real time, because initially I didn't know if I was going to include anything about music or my aunt and I's relationship. Our bond really deepened over the last few years. And so it really found its place in the book kind of in real time.
And here is another question from a listener. Kelly writes, how did writing the book and the previous essays support her creativity as a singer, songwriter, performer? And how did her music enable her voice in nonfiction writing? Interesting.
I think that having the experience of writing albums definitely made me feel more confident about taking on a larger creative project and knowing that that was something that I had done before and could potentially do again. I maybe was a little too confident at first, thinking that those things were so similar because, writing an album is maybe 1,500 words and writing a book is closer to 80,000. But yeah, I think that it was really gratifying in this way that I never anticipated. Fans of Japanese Breakfast, my band, will notice that there are some borrowed lines in the book and there's a lot of borrowed content. And I think, with music, you're really painting a very impressionistic picture that can be taken in many different ways. Whereas with a book, you have to really guide the reader to feel and understand and have this kind of knowledge that you need them to know. You have to guide them a bit more. Whereas I think a listener can have more sort of varying interpretations of your work. But yeah, it was just great to have the room to explore a scene. There's a Japanese Breakfast song called Rugged Country where I sing, "It's a heavy hand where I wear your death as a wedding ring." And if you don't know the context of that story, that could mean quite a few things. But in the book, I was able to actually explain there is a line about having a heavy hand and writing out that this heavy hand was not only a physical feeling of just wearing a ring for the first time, but also it represented so much in that moment.
Oh, let's listen to a little bit of Rugged Country. Beautiful. I love listening to that connection.
Yeah, it's cool to see the echo in the book.
Yeah, there's a lot of instances in this book where I was able to just really show a scene. And like I said before, I think the biggest difference is that you get to really enter into different characters' perspectives and have walk away with a deeper understanding of different people in this way that you don't get to do in music quite as often.
Now, Michelle, you took the 4 tendencies quiz. So please tell us, what is your tendency?
I was an upholder. I am an upholder.
That's what Gretchen is.
That's what I am. And did that ring true for you, that you can meet inner expectations and you're also interested in meeting outer expectations?
It did, yes. I'm very much that type of person. I don't know if I've always been that. I guess in some ways, it is really important for me, especially in the last 7 years or 6 or 7 years, that I keep commitments to myself. I think it's what keeps me grounded.
Mm-hmm. And we always like to ask our guests for a try this at home suggestion, something manageable and practical that people can do starting tomorrow to make themselves happier. Do you have anything that you would suggest for listeners?
This isn't really something that I do, but my husband does a lot of things that make my life really enjoyable that I would recommend other people trying. But it's very boring and I don't know if it actually suits the podcast. But it's a very small
we love boring.
thing. Okay, when we get a carton of eggs, he'll rip the top off so you can always see how many eggs that you have and you can grab them very easily. It's just one of those things that I love that he does and makes my life really enjoyable. And it's definitely the simplest thing that you can try on in your life.
And why don't we all do that? I never thought of doing that. And it is such a hassle to open egg cartons.
Well, and then if you run out, you need 3 eggs and you assume, we have a whole carton of eggs, but then there's only one little lonely egg in there. I eat so many eggs. That's a really good tip for me. And literally never occurred to me.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Peter, for that.
Thank you, Peter.
Peter gets a gold star.
Michelle, it's been so great to talk to you.
Yes, Michelle, we loved the book and it was such a pleasure to get to talk to you about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Michelle.
Well, we hope you're feeling happier after this episode. We really appreciated the opportunity to revisit this conversation with Michelle Zauner. And if you haven't read Crying in H Mart, check it out for yourself for your next hashtag Read 25 and 25. It's so good.
Yes, you will love it.
Remember, the best time to start a happiness project is 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Gretch, I'm back in Puerto Rico, and would you believe I'm in the same hotel room where I spent 8 weeks?
Oh my God. Is that kind of nice to come home, or do you feel like it's the Groundhog Day from which you cannot awake?
Sort of both, but it does have a great view, so I'm not complaining.
But my question is, did you get the mini fridge this time?
I have one mini fridge. I do not have two, and I'm back to the internal debate is I'm only going to be here 17 days. Do I really need a second fridge? Probably so.
From the Onward Project.
Hi, Gretchen, Craig Robinson, and my little sister Michelle here. We host a new podcast called IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson. We know you're the queen of giving advice, so we wanted to get a few tips from you.
You know, Gretchen, a lot of our listeners are going through some major life changes. What advice do you have for folks who are trying to stay grounded in the midst of major life transitions?
Craig and Michelle, I am so happy to be talking to you. Here are a few questions that might help us gain perspective. So consider questions like this. What activities take up my time but are not particularly useful or stimulating for me? Do I spend a lot of time on something that's important to someone else but is not very important to me? If I could magically change one habit in my life, what would I choose? And here's a question. Would I like to have more time in solitude, restorative solitude, or would I like to have more time with friends? You know, just thinking about questions like this can help us start to figure out how we might make our lives happier. With greater self-knowledge, we're better able to make hard decisions that reflect ourselves, our own nature, our own interests, our own values. In my own case, I have found that the more my life reflects my nature, the happier I get, and the more grounded I feel when I'm going through a period of major change or transition. For more great advice, search for IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson wherever you get podcasts. You can listen to Issa Rae on letting go of certain friendships, Kiki Palmer on why disappointment is actually the key to career success, Seth and Lauren Rogan on caring for aging parents, and so many more.